In the current football era, it's expected that big clubs will spend loads of cash looking for the next superstar. And while some of the players transferred last summer are thriving, the 10 players that I will talk about are making their clubs seriously regret sending them a contract. So, we're Thorn FC, and these are 10 summer transfers that didn't age well. Number 10, Sandra Tonali. This one is tough to include. First, because he could still make a tremendous impact when he returns, and because he was perhaps the only transfer in this entire list that I originally thought it was gonna work out. Many of you could argue that we haven't seen enough to judge him, but it's not like he was an absolute starter at the time of his suspension. In fact, he had lost his spot to Sean Longstaff, and who knows if he would have conquered it back. Longstaff showed more competence in his defending and creative duties while both were competing for the spot, but he has also dropped his levels quite a bit. Either way, Newcastle are probably seeing red right now for choosing to spend their money on a guy that can keep himself away from betting apps. Number 9, Mason Mount. I don't know who thought signing Mount was a good idea, much less giving him the Red Devils' cursed number 7 shirt. The English midfielder has had a nightmarish start to life in Manchester, only contributing with a single assist in the League Cup. While in the Prem, he has only played a total of 8 matches without a single noteworthy event happening in any of them. To be fair, his season has been marked by several fitness issues, which isn't that uncommon in Man United nowadays. Maybe, just maybe, that's what happens when you play a very physical, high-pressing game in almost every match, but don't have decent facilities or competent coaches to recover your players. Number 8, Sophia Amabat. Another Man United player, and to be honest, if I wanted to, I could probably make an entire list about Man United's transfers that didn't age well ever since Ten Hag took over, but I digress. The fact of the matter is that Amrabat doesn't have the speed or athleticism to play in the Premier League. He has committed several mistakes to the point where 18-year-old Kobe Mino has risen above him in the pecking order. This one is a bit frustrating considering how good he was in the World Cup, but it really feels like it was the right move to only bring him to Old Trafford on loan. Number 7, Mateo Kovacic. United aren't the only club from Manchester who were unfortunate in the summer market. City also came out weaker after losing Gundogan and Mahrez. And although Doku has been terrific, the same can't be said about Kovacic. Despite having the experience of playing at the highest level for well over a decade now, Kovacic simply hasn't been able to make the citizens forget Gundogan. So much so that Guardiola has been forced to use Alvarez in midfield several times ahead of the Croatian international. Not much was expected of him from a creative and attacking point of view, but he's still underperforming in his defensive game as he has been caught lacking in counterattacks many times this season. In my opinion, City would be much better off giving his space in the squad to a youngster who could actually develop into something bigger. Number 6, Gonçalo Ramos. Wrong place, wrong time. That's how I would describe this transfer because don't get me wrong, Ramos has every quality needed to be Portugal's next striker after Ronaldo leaves the national team. On the other side, I know how being a striker for Benfica kind of overhypes your quality. Benfica has an attacking culture that leads to slightly above average forwards being able to easily bag above 20 goals in a season. As a consequence, the elite clubs who buy Benfica strikers get the impression that those numbers will continue as if nothing changed, but that rarely happens. Ramos should have stayed with Benfica. If he did, he would have had a battle for the ages with Gyökeres to determine who's the best striker in the league, which would then effectively prepare him to higher flights. Number 5, Fabio Carvajal. Another Portuguese youngster who moved clubs last summer, but in Fabio's case, the situation is much more dire than Gonçalo at PSG. Fabio Carvajal was seen by Liverpool as a prospect for the future, and in hopes of getting enough game time, he was sent out on loan to Leipzig. At first sight, it seemed like the perfect destination for a young winger to grow, but soon it became apparent that he simply wasn't good enough to be a starter in the Bundesliga. During his 6 months in Germany's top flight, he only played 9 matches and only 1 as a starter, never scoring a single goal. Liverpool quickly became aware of this situation and brought him back, only to loan him again, this time to Hull City in the Championship. From a player who saw himself as too good to play with Portugal's under-21s to someone who can only start in the Championship. That must have hurt. Number 4, Felix Schulz. Initially bought as Bellingham's direct replacement, Mesha has certainly had a season to forget with BVB. After being rejected from the get-go by a part of Borussia fans who didn't share his religious beliefs, Mesha also didn't have an easy run on the pitch. He struggled to link with his teammates, and just when his performance was starting to improve, the German youngster suffered a hip injury that has kept him out of action since November. Whether you agree with the Borussia faithful or not, I think the better move was just avoiding Mesha altogether. Number 3, Romeo Lavia. I know, he's been injured throughout most of this season, but that's a point. Why would Chelsea splurge on a guy that hasn't even hit 20 years old and already has a massive history of injury problems? I might be sounding ruthless, but that's just how it goes in the world of football. But hold on just a second, because this is about to get way worse. Lavia, despite being completely unproven at the highest level, received a massive 7-year contract worth £60 million. Now I wonder what Chelsea is gonna do if he never materializes his potential. The Blues have made massive gambles in the last transfer windows that could genuinely destroy the club if it all goes wrong. Number 2, Samuel Chukwu. Chukwu was one of La Liga's most exciting players for the past 2 years, so it came as no surprise when big clubs came calling for him. Ultimately, AC Milan got the Nigerian winger for close to 30 million euros, which considering his potential didn't seem too much. But then, out of nowhere, Milan's other signing for the wing, the LeBron James of football Christian Pulisic, brought his career back from the dead and limited Chukwueze's game time. But the problem stems from the fact that even when Chuk's given a chance, he always underdelivers. Although he scored twice in the Champions League, he completely ghosted in Serie A. In fact, he hasn't even scored a single goal. At this point, it really feels like AC Milan got another big signing wrong, just like it happened with the Ketelaar. Number 1, Karim Benzema. Judging the summer Saudi transfers by last season's form, Benzema was probably the biggest name to join the Saudi Pro League. On paper, it looked like the perfect signing. Benzema added credibility to a league that so desperately needed. He was joining last season's champions, and his adaptation wouldn't be as hard because he was also Muslim. But in reality, this perfect move harmed everyone involved. Benzema didn't match Ronaldo's goal-scoring numbers in the league, he got into arguments with his coach Nuno Espírito Santo, and even after they fired him, the situation didn't improve. Al-Ittihad continues to perform miserably to this day, and most of the club's fanbase have turned their backs on Karim. Benzema, on the other hand, didn't hesitate to make his disfavor public. He deleted Instagram, missed several training sessions, and forced a move out of the club several times last month. Couple that with Jordan Anderson leaving, and you got a public relations disaster that the Saudi Pro League will have to work extremely hard to overcome. And that is it for the video. If you don't agree with something that I've said, feel free to start a discussion in the comments. Drop a like to help this video get to more people, and subscribe to join the fastest growing football channel on YouTube, where you'll find the most interesting discussions, crazy stories, and controversial top 10 lists. Thank you for watching until the end, I appreciate you, and I will see you soon.